convocation, the general public who are viewing this broadcasted session, and my children, the Lao Nation. Sabaydi, it is truly a pleasure to be bequeathed with the opportunity to address such an eminent audience. Today is the appropriate time in order for us to reminisce the past, successes, the achievements, even the trials and tribulations, and reflect upon them. The years may falter, my friends, but memories are a different story. Throughout the course of time, our communism implementing nation cultivated a rather unfavorable reputation, not only in Asia, but all over the world. The series of deplorable events cascaded one after another when our antecedent government committed a lamentable mistake of imposing and executing a dogmatic command economy system with reference to the Soviet style, the catalyst of all the shameful. The replacement of private sectors with state enterprises and cooperatives, the centralization of investment, production, trade and pricing, the creation of barriers to internal and foreign trade, it was such a pity that time had already elapsed before we even realized that these decisions catalyzed consequences, which resulted the prevention rather than our desired stimulation and improvement of our economic growth and development. All of these factors eventually ensued the economy's debacle and downfall. Poverty was endemic, our names tainted, and to dream was the mere definition of our absurdity. However, it was until 1986 that hope, a thing believed to be extinguished within the hearts of every Lao, was suddenly set ablaze once again after the government exercised its new economic mechanism, which intends to nurture the country's degraded status and to eradicate poverty as well. Originally timid, the NPM soon aggrandized, and up to this day, its positive effects can be recognized, a proof that substantiates the process and the betterment of our economy. Maybe, just maybe, we can start from here. It is of our great pride to announce to you, my fellow men, that the year 2013 remained to be but another successful year for our travel and tourism industry. Latest research states that the contribution of our travel and tourism to world gross domestic product bloomed for the fourth consecutive year in 2013 with the aid of the strong demand from international travelers. The direct contribution of travel and tourism to GDP was 3,893.8 billion kip in 2013. Forecasts expound that it will rise by 8.7% in 2014 and by 5.8% in the subsequent years. And as the year 2024 commences, the industry will subsidize an estimated amount of 7,436.6 billion kip. To sum it up, the total contribution of travel and tourism to GDP was 11,803.7 billion kip in 2013 and is anticipated to rise by 8.7% in 2014 and to rise by 6.1% in 2024. It not only outpaced the wider economy, but also developed faster than the other significant sectors such as financial and business services, transport, and manufacturing. Furthermore, nearly millions of jobs were supported by travel and tourism in 2013. The sector directly supported 119,500 jobs, and there are expectations that it will rise by 3.1% in 2014 and grow by 1.6% in 2024. This involves employment by hotels, travel agents, airlines, and other passenger transportations, excluding the commuter services. And it also includes, for example, the activities of the restaurants and leisure industries directly favored by tourists. Overall, the total influence of travel and tourism to employment, including jobs indirectly supported by the industry, was 12.3% of total employment. That is surmised to raise by 3.2% in 2014 and to surge by 1.9% in 2024. The sustained demand for travel and tourism, together with its ability to generate high levels of employment, continues to prove the importance and value of the sector as a tool for economic development and job provision. Also, the outlook for travel and tourism in 2014 is also very positive, with total travel and tourism GDP growth forecast to reach 4.3%. Much of this growth is being driven by high visitor exports, or the amount of money spent by international tourists, which rose by 3.9% at global level year on year to $1.3 trillion and over by 10% within Southeast Asia. Surprisingly, the recovery from recession gathers pace and is becoming firmly established. Travel and tourism attracted capital investment of $2,658 billion in 2013. This is expected to rise by 7.8% in 2014 and to develop by 6.8% over the next 10 years to $5,517 billion in 2024. Travel and tourism probabilities over the next 10 years also look extremely favorable, with predicted growth rates of over 4% annually that continue to be higher than growth rates in other sectors. Capitalizing on the opportunities for this travel and tourism growth will of course require destination and regional authorities, particularly those in emerging markets, to create favorable business climates for investment in the infrastructure and human resource support necessary to facilitate a successful and sustainable tourism sector. At the national level, governments can also do much to implement more open visa regimes and to employ intelligent rather than punitive taxation policies. If the right steps are taken, travel and tourism can be a true force for good. And we, the government, ensure that we will endeavor to do so without disrupting the preserved original Asia and stating the slogan, simply beautiful. In terms of education, on the other hand, a recent World Bank study highlighted in the Lao PDR Economic Monitor last January 2014 enlightens how school-based management can help improve education quality. Lao PDR's education system faces challenges and adversities in meeting its goals of providing all students with access to education and improving learning outcomes. One of these challenges is the deficiency of non-wage public recurrent expenditure, which pays for school materials, equipment, teacher training, and more. As such, families still shoulder most of the spending for these in schools. The lack of education resources result into few learning materials and low-quality facilities. But fear not. For last 2011, the government instituted a school block grant program to help improve education quality. This improves schools with resources on a per-student basis to be used for non-wage expenditures on things that matter most. It also gives provinces, districts, and schools greater administrative control so that they can improve educational administration and schooling quality. Furthermore, with relation to lab's activity and participation in different organizations, it is a fulfilling feat that there is a record of recent advances towards achieving the Millennium Development Goals. Poverty declined, child mortality indicators improved steadily, and infant mortality waned. These factors only indicate a strong potential for Lao PDR to achieve its Millennium Development Goal targets by 2015. On the other hand, with regards to financial concerns, expansionary fiscal and monetary policies supported economic growth in 2013. However, they are also responsible for putting our stability at risk as inflation accelerated, fiscal and external deficits widened, and international reserves shrank. The government responded by canceling some fiscal expenditure, which would take a toll on gross domestic product growth in 2014. Growth in services gathered momentum, but industry and agriculture slowed. Still, services expanded by 9% last year. Robust consumer spending, backed by a very large rise in incomes for civil service, drove increases in wholesale and retail trade, while strong growth in credit boosted financial services. A 12% increase in tourist arrivals to 3.7 million in 2013 benefited hotels, restaurants, and transportation. Double-digit growth in telecommunications stemmed from the extension of mobile phones and internet services. Growth in industry as a whole slowed to 7.2% in 2013. Agriculture was hit by floods in the third quarter, but production still grew by 2.7% for the year. Domestic demand will most likely moderate in 2014, trimming GDP growth to 7.3%. Government investment will slow as it postpones 254 public projects and cuts off budget spending. Reduced government investment and delayed government payments to suppliers and employees will hurt business activity and confidence. Slowdowns in large and influential neighbors, the People's Republic of China and Thailand, also cloud the outlook, particularly for investment. But now in 2014, GDP growth is conjectured to pick up to 7.5% as more export-oriented projects come into production, as Thailand recovers, and as exports gain momentum with the brightening global outlook. Growth continued to be fueled by the resource sector, continued FDI finance investment in hydropower, and accommodative macroeconomic policies. This year, the resource sector is anticipated to provide a smaller direct contribution to growth. This is due to most major projects are under construction and not expected to commence operation this year. It is also due to expected lower gold production, which is likely to offset some of the gains expected from higher copper production. In the financial year, the fiscal deficit widened significantly due to a combination of large increase in public sector wages and benefits, and a decline in grants and mining revenues. The primary cause of the expanded deficit was due to an almost doubling of the total public expenditure on civil service, wages, and benefits. The annual budget plan indicates a slightly narrower fiscal deficit, but cuts in benefit will be balanced by new recruitment as well as further increases in salaries paid to civil servants for 2 consecutive years. We had discussed some revenue administration measures to help address the issue, and in addition to revenue measures, there is a need for more prudent medium-term expenditure planning and execution by the government going forward. Last year, foreign exchange reserves continued to fall to their lowest level in a decade, covering only 1.3 months of goods and services imports. This trend was fueled by widening current account deficit, driven by resource sector investment as well as strong domestic demand and accommodative fiscal and monetary policy. Efforts will be required by the authorities to rebuild reserves so that the country is more capable to absorb any adverse shocks in the future. Over the course of 2013, the Lao kip weakened slightly against the US dollar and strengthened against the Thai baht. An overall real appreciation of the exchange rate implies deterioration in the competitiveness of Laos' tradable exports. Despite economic freedom in our country still being held back by poor institutional development and the lack of a much-needed economic reform, the protection of property rights and enforcement of the economic rule of law remaining weak, and significant corruption burdening individuals and entrepreneurs. Laos' economic freedom evolved into 51.2, making its economy the 144th freest in the 2014 index. Our overall score is 1.1 points higher than last year, with improvements in 5 of the 10 economic freedoms, including investment freedom, fiscal freedom, and monetary freedom, outweighing declines in business freedom and freedom from corruption. Laos is ranked 31st out of 42 countries in the Pacific region, and its overall score is below the world and regional averages. Finally, we have been out of the ranks of the economically repressed, and that is due to your eager endeavors and actions. You are all the promoters of this transformation we are currently experiencing. The Lao nation proved that they are the principal key in order for Laos to consistently prosper and flourish. Me, I am but an instrument, a representative who personifies the whole republic. Still, I fully believe that whether I'm here or not, the Lao is headed towards the rightful destination, the road leading to a land overflowing with glory and prosperity. And so, this concludes my speech. Again, a pleasant morning to all of you. Kabshed.
Ingay-ingay nyo dyan. Wait lang. Dito! Sama kayo dyan sa likod. Diyan ka na. Mag-ingay pa dyan, kayo na lang ang mag-ingay. Kasi dinig ko na sila dito. Isang ingay pa mamaya.
And now, may we call on the Prime Minister of Vietnam, Ms. Jessica Lintal and Ms. Madeline Carpenter.
Sa ating kagalang-galang na Vice Presidente, sa mga kinatawan ng Senado at Korte Suprema, sa mga representante ng lokal na pamahalaan, at higit sa lahat, sa aking mga minamahal na mga kababayang Vietnamese, Ciao Boy Sang sa inyong lahat. Narito ako sa inyong harapan at ikinagagalak kong iulat at ihayag sa inyo ang kalagayan ng ating ekonomiya. Ang ating ekonomiya ay may porsyentong 50.8 na naglalagay sa atin sa ika-147 na pwesto sa buong mundo na may malalagong ekonomiya. Ngunit, ang porsyentong ito ay mas mababa kumpara sa nakuha natin noong nakaraang taon. Dahil hindi natin masyadong napagtuunan ng pansin ang pagbibigay ng trabaho sa ating mga kababayan. Sa 42 na bansa na meron sa Asia-Pasipiko, ang Vietnam ay nasa ranggong ika-33 na may malayang ekonomiya. Sa loob ng 20 taon, ang ating bansa ay may mataas na ekonomiya na tumaas pa ng 9 puntos. Mas lalo pa itong nadagdagan nang pagtuunan natin ng pansin ang mga problema katulad ng korupsyon at pangangalakal. Dahil dito, tumaas pa ng 10 puntos ang ekonomiya natin noon. Natutuwa ako at ngayon ay hindi na tayo kabilang sa mga bansang walang kalayaan sa ekonomiya sa loob ng 2 dekada. Ngunit, kahit na maraming pagbabago ang ating nagawa at ginagawa, lagana pa din talaga ang korupsyon sa ating bansa. Sa turismo at pangangalakal naman, maganda ang ating naging performance. Malaki ang naitulong nito upang tumaas ang ekonomiya natin ngayong taon. Sa katunayan, Tumatanggap tayo ng mga dayuhang panauhin ng 6.8 milyon taon-taon. At aasahang madadagdagan pa ito at mapupunta sa 7 milyon sa susunod na taon. Karamihan sa mga turista na pumupunta sa ating bansa ay mula sa mga bansang China at South Korea. Ang sityo na Hanoi, Hashomi City, Hoan at Halong ay mga sityo sa ating bansa na kabilang sa mga 25 destination na madalas puntahan ng mga tao. Sa pangangalakan naman, ay kumita tayo ng $26.5 billion mula sa mga produktong crude oil, footwear, fisheries products, at electronics. Kumita naman tayo ng $132.17 billion mula sa mga inaangkat nating produktong may kinalaman sa electronics. $22.5 billion naman ang nakuha natin mula sa textiles and garments. Kalimitan sa mga bansang ating ipinangangalakal ay ang mga bansang United States, United Kingdom, Japan, China, Australia, Singapore at Germany. Ngunit kahit na maganda ang turismo at pangangalakal natin, malaki ang problema ng ating bansa sa inflasyon. Noong isang taon, ang ating inflasyon ay may porsyentong 70.5%. Ngayon, binibigyan na ng aksyon ng pamahalaan ang problemang ito upang matugunan at masolusyonan ang pagtaas ng presyo at pagbaba ng pagbili ng halaga ng pera.
Ang korupsyon at ang pag-ubuso ay isang seryosong problema ng ating bansa. Madaming kumpanya ang nabalita na nagbibigay ng suhol sa gobyerno para makapasa sa mga legal na proseso na kanilang kinakailangan. Pinapaalala ko lamang na ang mga pribadong pagmamayari ay hindi gaanong pinagtutuunan ng pansin. Ang porsyento ng individual na buwis ay may 35%, samantala ang buwis na pangkorporasyon ay may 25%. Kasama na dito ang iba pang mga buwis katulad ng VAT at property tax. Sa kabuuan, mayroon tayo 21.1 ng gross domestic income. Ang mga ginastos sa publikong gastusin ay 31% ng ating GDP. Noong 2013, ang ating GDP ay umabot sa $170 billion at ang ating GDP per capita income ay $1,902. Ayon sa balita noong December 2005, ang ekonomiya ng Vietnam ay inaasahan na maging pang-35 sa may unlad na ekonomiya sa buong bansa. Ayon sa PricewaterhouseCoopers, ang Vietnam ay ang bansa na may pinakamabilis ang pag-unlad ng ekonomiya dahil sa 10% na annual growth. Ang utang naman ng ating bansa ay katumbas ng 50% ng ating domestic income. Ang pagsisimula ng mga kabuhayan o business ay nangangailangan ng mahabang proseso, pero walang minimum na kapital ang kinakailangan. Samantala, ang pagkumpleto sa lisensya ay umaabot sa 100 days. Ang porsyento ng may mga trabaho ay hindi nagbago kumpara ng isang taon. Samantala, ang mga bilang na may walang trabaho ay katamtaman lamang. Ibig sabihin nito, hindi nilagdagan ang bilang na may mga trabaho, kaya ito ay isa sa mga pinagtutuunan ng pansin natin ngayon. Ang ating taripa ay nasa 5.7%. Ang ating mga sariling produkto ay hindi gaano masyado nabigyan ng pansin, pero ito ay mahalaga pa din. Ang ating financial sector ay nagpapatuloy ng lumaki at patuloy itong umuunlad. Mangihibabaw pa rin ang apat na pinakamalaking estado na may pagmamayari ng mga komersyal na bangko kahit na ang kanilang pagbabahagi ay tinatanggihan. Bago ako magpaalam sa inyong lahat, nais po namin ipabatid na gagawin namin ang aming makakaya upang mapaunlad at mapalago ang ating ekonomiya. Come on sa inyong pakikinig at muli, ciao boys.
to honor the national anthem of Thailand.
I would like to express my deepest gratitude to all the people here, especially to my dearest countrymen. Being the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Thailand in the past 4 years, I must admit that this will be my final State of the Nation address, which shows that my journey as a Prime Minister will finish soon. Let me start my address in the quote of well-known Confucius, which is, "Study the past if you would define the future." So, let me do some flashback about the economic status of our country. Thailand is an emerging economy and is considered a newly industrialized country. Our country's solid economic growth, financial stability, and significant gains in reducing poverty have contributed to its emergence as a middle-income country. Thailand became an upper middle-income country in 2011. As such, our country holds one of the great development success stories with sustained strong growth and impressive poverty reduction. We all know that our country depends on exporting our precious and high-quality products, which comprises the 2/3 of our GDP or gross domestic product. Thailand had a GDP of 11.375 trillion baht, which is equivalent to 366 billion US dollars. Our growing economy grew by 6.5%, which I think is a very good start in leading our country in a stable and good condition of economy. Last 2012, the expected percentage to grow is in the range of 3.8 to 4.3%. On the first half of 2013, our economy grew by 4.1%, which meets the expected percent. After a few months, however, the Thai GDP contracted by 0.7% for the first quarter and 0.3% for the second quarter. As a result, our country is in recession. In addition, what is the cause of the sudden shifting of our economy? Well, of course, the unstable political crisis and the chaos for the past years. As a result, our economy became weak, which is visible as of now. These political tensions made us fail in the second half of the year and declined to 1.9% over the year. The results made a great impact in the private investment and the slower of the public investments. The government became distracted by political issues and hobbled by legal challenges. The total investments made a small contribution on the GDP growth for 2013. On the other side, Thailand's economy remains export dependent, which exports accounting for 60% of a GDP that stood at roughly 7.7 trillion baht, which is approximately $270 billion of 2008. This positions the economy of Thailand as the second largest in Southeast Asia after Indonesia, a distinction it has held for many years. Thailand's exports worth approximately 180 billion US dollars per annum, consist primarily of agricultural products, including fish and rice, the latter of which Thailand is the largest exporter in the world, as well as textiles, rubber, automobiles, jewelry, and computers or electronic appliances. The industrial and service sectors are the main sectors in the Thai gross domestic product, with accounting for 39.2% of GDP. Our agricultural sector contributes 8.4% of the GDP, lower than the trade sectors, which is 13.4%, and logistics and 9.8% of the GDP. The construction and mining sector adds 4.3% to the country's gross domestic product. Other service sectors, including the financial, education, hotel and restaurant sectors, account for 24.9% of the country's GDP. Telecommunication and trade services are emerging as centers of industrial expansion and economic competitiveness. Unemployment rate in the world, and only about 10% of the population is in the poverty line. I can proudly say that our country is the second largest economy in the Southeast Asia. Last July 19, 2013, Thailand held $171.2 billion in international reserves, the second largest in Southeast Asia. Our country also ranks second in Southeast Asia in external trade volume after Singapore. Over the past 32 years, the economy of Thailand has expanded, which makes our country 32nd biggest economy in the whole world. I can programs in the benefit of all. As a leader, as well as a mother of this nation, I'll do my best, especially it's my last term as a Prime Minister. I'll boost and enhance my intellectual ability, talent, and skills in managing this country. I'll be your leader that will lead you, and of course, our dear country, in a progressive and smooth path. I'll be your mother that will always support, guides, and molds my dear children to be a productive citizen of this nation. I'll bring out the best of this nation. Support and care for our country, and that shapes the destiny of our country a better one. Once again, thank you and good day. Kun maka.
Perdanamentary Bersedia untuk kami.
But the President and Prime Minister are still preparing for their speech.
Kami menyediakan permainan yang akan memberi Anda maklumat ringkas mengenai Singapura.
We prepared the game that will provide you brief information about Singapore.
Kami akan meminta tatlosualan asas mengenai negara ini.
We will ask 3 basic questions about the country.
Dan mereka yang akan dapat menjawab mereka akan menerima hadiah.
And those who will be able to answer them will receive a prize.
Mari kita melakukan.
Let's begin. First question. What is the mythical creature used to represent the country? Sige.
Merlion.
Please get your answer. Second question. What is the capital of the country? The third and the last question. What is the currency of Singapore?
Ito semua terima kasih dan sekali lagi Presiden dan Perdanamenteri Singapura, Lisi Marima Ilog dan Rosa Del Chavez.
Thank you, and once again, welcome the President and Prime Minister of Singapore, Lisa Marima Ilog and Rosa Del Chavez.
Sa mga taong nandito sa silid na ito, salamat pagi. Narito po ako sa inyong harap bilang isang kinatawa ng ating gobyerno upang ipahayag ang mga nangyari sa ating bansa at ang kalagayan ng ating ekonomiya sa panahon ito. Tinagagalak kong ipahayag na ang Singapore ay tinaguriang isa sa pinakamunlad na bansa sa buong mundo. Dahil tayo ang pinakabukas sa pakikipagkalakalan at pakikipag-ugnayan sa ibang mga bansa. Tayo ang may pinakamababang bilang ng korupsyon. Tayo ang pinakamaunlad sa larangan ng negosyo at industriya. Tayo ay may mababang singil ng buwis at tayo rin ang ikatlong may pinakamataas sa porsyento
daming pagsubok, simula nung naitatag ang kalayaan, at pagiging isa ng ating bansa noong Agosto 9, 1965. Umusbong mula sa isang maliit na bansa may mababang estado. Humarap sa daan-daang problemang politikal, sosyal at pinansyal, ay tayo'y naging isang tanyag at maunlad na bansa pagkalipas ng mahabang panahon. At tinanyagan tayong Asian Tiger at puso ng Asia dahil dito. Kilala ang ating bansa bilang isa sa mga pinakamabilis na umunlad na bansa sa buong mundo. Maraming mga turista at mga trabahador mula sa ibang mga bansa ang nagnanais makapunta dito. At kilala ang ating bansa bilang isang maunlad, matayo at matibay na bansa sa buong mundo. Ngunit, paano nga ba nakabangon ang ating bansa sa mga suliraning ating narapon? Tayo ay magbalik tanaw sa nakaraan ng ating ekonomiya upang maunawaan natin ang pag-ibig at magpasalamat sa kung ano ang meron ng bansa natin ngayon. Sabi nga ng ilan, ang taong hindi marunong lumingos sa kanyang pinanggalingan ay hindi makakarating sa kanyang paroroon.
Noong 1960, ang Singapore ay isang mahirap na bansa na may GNP per capita ng $320 lamang. Naitatag ang Singapore Economic Development Board o EDB na may layunin may kalat sa ibang bansa na ang Singapore ay isang magandang lugar upang magtayo ng negosyo. Nakita natin ang solusyon sa kahirapan ng ating bansa. At tayo ay sumentro sa pagpapaunlad ng ating industriya upang makapag-export sa ibang bansa. Noong 1970, nagsimula umunlad ang larangan ng industriya. Nagsimula rin pumasok ang mga pabrika sa paggawa ng mga mas komplikadong mga kagamitan tulad ng mga parte ng computer, peripherals, software packages, at silicon wafers. Mas nakilala rin ang ating bansa sa Amerika, Europe, at Asia. Noong 1980, mas lumawig ang kaalaman natin sa teknolohiya sa pamamagitan ng pakikipag-ugnayan sa Japan, Germany, at France. Sa tulong ng kaalaman na ito, patuloy na tumaas ang antas na ekonomiya ng ating bansa. Noong 1990, luminang ang ating industriya sa paggamit ng teknolohiya upang mapunlad ang ating bansa. Karamihan ng mga trabaho ay may kinalaman sa chemicals, electronics, at engineering. Lumawag din ang ating kaalaman sa iba't larangan at mas napanatili ang balanse sa loob nito. Lumakas din ang manpower dahil sa pagkilala sa ating mga talento at kakayahan.
Sa panahon ngayon, patuloy na umuunlad ang ating bansa sa pamamagitan ng paglinang sa teknolohiya at pagiging makabago. Mayroon din tayong humigit sa 13 billion bilang puhunan sa susunod na 5 taon. Tinagurian din tayo una sa IP o Intellectual Property Protection sa buong Asia. Sa buong mundo naman, tayo ay ang ika-11 sa IP protection at tayo ay pumapagitna sa Ireland at Canada na may puntos na 8.03 sa eskala kung saan 10 ang pinakamataas. Ngayon, ang daungan ng ating bansa ang tinaguriang World's Busiest Transshipment Port at nataasan pa natin dito ang Hong Kong at ang Rotterdam. Sa bilang naman ng mga cargo ng pangasiwaan, tayo na ang pangalawang pinakamatanyag. Umapanganwa lamang tayo sa daungan ng Shanghai. Tumatayog din tayo sa larangan ng turismo, kung saan humigit 10 million daungan ang bumibisita sa ating bansa kada taon. Ayon sa Singapore Tourism Board Statistics, 15,567,923 ang mga turistang dumalaw sa ating bansa upang bumisita noong nakaraang taon. Mas madami pa ito sa mismong populasyon ng bansa. Kumpara noong taong 2012 na 14,496,091, tumaas ito ng 7.4%. Malaki ang ambag ng medical tourism at culinary tourism dahil sa pagpapalaganap ng ating kultura at ang ating advanced medical technology. Maganda rin ang estadong pinasyal ng ating bansa dahil sa pakikipag-ugnayan natin sa bansang Switzerland. Patuloy din ang pag-unlad ng industriya ng biotech dahil sa mga tanyag na kumpanya GlaxoSmithKline, Pfizer at Merck & Co. na magtatayo ng mga planta sa bansa. At ang pagkalat ng langis ay may malaki pa rin parte sa pag-unlad ng ating ekonomiya. Bagamat maliit lamang ang ating bansa, ito ay ika-15 trading partner ng Estados Unidos. Nakapagtatag din ng Singapore ng matatag na pakikipag-ugnayan sa mga bansa sa South America, Europa at Asia. Mayroong 3,000 multinational corporations sa ating bansa sa kasalukuyan.
Dahil sa magandang pamamalakad ng mga nakatataas at sa mahigpit na pagbabantay ng mga opisyal sa mga lumalabag sa batas, kakaunti lamang ang mga krimen at korupsyon ang nangyayari sa ating bansa. Base sa report ng ating pulisya, ang kabuuang bilang ng krimen ay bumaba na 4% kumpara noong nakaraang taon. Mula sa 31,052 na mga kaso noong nakaraang taon, bumaba sa 29,668 lamang ito. Malaki ang epekto nito sapagkat 1,347 na mga kaso ang ibinaba nito. Dahil dito, nais ko lamang na pasalamatan ang magandang serbisyo ng ating pulisya. Isa ang Singapore sa mga bansang halos walang korupsyong nagaganap. Base sa Corruptions Perception Index ng 2013, ang Singapore ay ika-5 bansa na mababa ang antas ng korupsyon sa buong mundo. Dahil dito, ay nakakasabay tayo sa mga bansang New Zealand, Denmark, Finland at Sweden. Ito naman ang may pinakamababang antas ng korupsyon sa buong Asia. Kung ating ilalagay sa iskala ang korupsyon sa ating bansa, kung saan 0 ang pinakamataas na antas ng korupsyon at 10 naman ang pinakamababa. Ang Singapore bigyan na siya ayon sa Transparency International. Maganda rin ang lagay ng employment rate sa ating bansa. Bagamat tumaas ng 0.1% ngayon taon ang employment rate kumpara sa 1.9% na kabuuang antas ng bansa noong nakaraang taon. Nananatili pa rin mababa ito sa 2%. Ang ibig sabihin nito, sa 3 milyon kataong trabahador sa bansa, 80% ang nabibigyan ng trabaho. At 80% din sa mga mamamayang ito ang mayroong magandang buhay dahil dito. Ayon sa International Monetary Fund, ang ating gross domestic product galing sa purchasing power parity per capita ay ang pangatlo sa mga pinakamataas sa buong mundo. At ang ating gross domestic product per capita at nominal values ay nasa pang-anim sa listahan. Ayon din sa International Monetary Fund, pang-10 ang Singapore sa listahan ng foreign exchange reserves. Makikita naman natin kung paano umuunlad ang ating bansa at kung paano tayo nakikisabay sa mga bansang matagal na namamalakad, katulad ng China, Japan at Amerika. 38 square miles na lupa at sa daming 3 milyon na trabahador sa bansa, may pagmamalaki ko na nakakapagpagawa pa rin ng Singapore ng GDP na higit pa sa $300 billion bawat taon, na mas malaki pa sa higit sa kalahating mga bansa sa buong taon. Sa taong 2000 hanggang 2010, halos dumoble ang GDP ng ating bansa mula sa $163 billion hanggang sa $304 billion. Hindi mangyayari ang lahat ng ito
Naging dahilan,
ang saysay ng ating pagiging isang bansa.
magagawa ba natin ang lahat ng ito kung may isang tao lamang ang kumikilos?
Kayo ang may gawa ng lahat ng ito.
Kung hindi tayo nagkakaisa, wala tayong mararating. Kung hindi tayo magkakaintindihan, wala tayong magagawa.
Kung hindi dahil sa inyo, walang suliraning malalagpasan ng ating bansa.
Kung hindi dahil sa inyo, malamang ay mahirap pa rin tayo ngayon. Isang bansang napag-iiwanan, isang bansang pudpud ng utang, isang bansang hindi makaahon sa patong-patong na problema. Ako po ay isang instrumento, isang kinatawan lamang na naghahandog ng serbisyo para sa ikabubuti ng ating bansa. Kayo ang tunay na mga bayani, ang tunay na dahilan sa pagunlad. Bago pa man ako magpaalam, nais ko lang pong mag-iwan ng isang mensahe sa mga mamamayang naninirahan sa Singapore. Sa mga taong nagsisikap na mapaunlad ang ating bansa, kayo ang tunay na mga bayani ng ating bansa. Sa pamamagitan ng pagkakaisa at sa pag-iisip sa ikabubuti, hindi lamang para sa sarili, kundi para na rin sa kapwa, ay maisa sa katuparan natin ang mga pangarap, hindi lamang para sa sarili, kundi para natin sa buong bansa. Terima kasih dan hari yang diberkati kepada semua.
ASEAN magpantay.
To our Vice President, Mr. Ryan Villanueva, to our ministers in different fields, to our Governor and Senator, Mr. Tan Yee, to our U.S. Ambassador, Mr. Tan Swek, to our beloved guest, Your Excellency, Ma'am Sayrel Oriales, friends, family, and to you, my fellow Baman. Min Galaba, a pleasant morning to all of you. Leading the 7 main races of our nation, Kachin, Kaya, Mon, Rakhin, and Shan, and our valued ethnic groups, Lisu, Akha, Padaung, Palaung, Rawang, Salone, and Naga is not an easy obligation. It requires high intellectual capacity for logical strategizing, and most importantly, great effort to be a competitive individual myself and a representative of this nation. Indeed, this country needs a hero, not an advantage seeker, a provider, not a cheater, and actions, not words. Burma's economic freedom is 46.5, making its economy the 162nd freest in the Index 2014. Its score is 7.3 points better than last year due to positive changes in business freedom, investment freedom, and labor freedom. Over the 20-year history of the index, Burma's progress toward greater economic freedom has been patchy and modest, considering it as a repressed economy. The overall score improvement has been nearly 1.4 points, with gains in trades and monetary freedom offset by deteriorations in 4 of the 10 economic freedoms, including property rights and financial freedom, the scores for which have declined by 20 points each. Efficient government leads to effective governing. For the last 365 days, we have properly implemented laws against corruption and failing to serve dutifully of public servants in accordance with the Section 161 to 165, Chapter 9 of Penal Code 1861. In addition to this, a new anti-corruption law was enacted on September 17, 2013, replacing the 1948 Suppression of Corruption Act. The process of preparing consumer protection and competition laws were also developed to eliminate consumer and producer issues.
The Parliament has also passed the Central Bank of Myanmar Law on July 11, 2013 to provide a more autonomous central bank. A securities exchange law was also passed. Procedures are also underway to amend the Financial Institutions Law and to prepare rules and regulations to govern joint ventures in the banking sector, as well as a mining law. Revisions were also made, including the restrictions on trading in foreign exchange among local private banks. Insurance licenses have also been issued to private providers for the first time in 50 years. Moreover, a PEFA, or Public Expenditure and Financial Accountability, for us was completed, providing the first ever comprehensive review of public financial management systems in the country. While the current public financial management system is strong, there are also many areas of improvement, as it is to be expected in a country at the development stage of Myanmar. The report finds that the manual ledger system is largely up to date and data quality is good. Budgeting and planning institutions are well established and undergoing significant changes as the country goes through the economic and social reform program. This simple, unified budget classification system is able to report an actual expenditures properly. And now, it is my pleasure to call on our excellent Vice President, Mr. Villanueva, to elaborate our gross domestic product and to continue our State of the Nation address.
Once again, Min Galap in front of you with my head held high. Continue this State of the Nation address of our beloved President. GDP growth accelerated to an estimated 7.5% in fiscal year 2013 that ended 31st of March 2014, from a revised 7.3% in fiscal 2012. This growth was supported by rising investment, propelled by improved business confidence, commodity exports, buoyant tourism, and credit growth, complemented by the government's ambitious structural reform program. Higher imports of capital goods reflected the strongest investment. Capital goods imports surged by 59.5% to $5.8 billion in 2013. Business confidence has markedly increased in recent years, as reflected in rapid increase in new business registrations, which exceeded 5,000 in the 10 months to January 2013, more than in the whole of the previous fiscal year. Registrations of new foreign-owned businesses rose to 375. Private sector credit maintained a rapid growth of 46% in fiscal year 2013. Export of natural gas increased by 68.8% to 7.7 trillion cubic feet in the 12 months to September 2013. Gas exports were valued to $3.6 billion, accounting for almost 40% of all exports. Significant macroeconomic reforms ushered in by the government are beginning to yield positive results. Inflation has been lowered to 5.5%. Investments have increased fivefold to over $1.4 billion in foreign investment. International reserves have gone up and the fiscal deficit has been reduced. With a sharp inflow of foreign direct investment, Yangon marking difference with other parts of the country. Our Our next subject is one of those that the government is focusing on the most. Poverty levels are currently at 26% of the population, though poverty in Myanmar is shallow. With the median income only 25% above the poverty line. But we have to make sure that this would not getting worse. Consequently, small shocks can bring a larger number into poverty. Also, the poverty rate in rural areas are 1.8 times higher than urban areas, compared to 1.6 times in 2005. Nevertheless, with the help of UNDP, certain poverty reduction activities are created in our group under with the Pillar 1 of the 2013-2015 Culture Program Action Plan. This works to strengthen the capacities of local governments, civil society, and the media, while providing livelihood support and poverty reduction in border and ceasefire areas. Also, together with UNDP and its partner, UNCDF, we have operationalized two global programs, MAP and MicroLead, to strengthen access to finance in rural areas and strengthen the competitiveness of the microfinance market. Generally, our economy grew at 6.5% in 2012-2013. This makes us the 149th out of 168 countries based on economic status. However, huge improvements were seen on gas production, services, and construction. Therefore, the battle has just begun. It's us, the Myanmar people, against poverty and corruption. And our only weapon is unity and patriotism. Let us work hand in hand to keep this golden land. There's no more tomorrow. There's no room for regrets. We deserve success. I know it would be hard, but nothing worth having comes easy. Before I end this speech, let me leave you a quote. If you want a rainbow, you have to deal with the rainbow. Once again, good morning, fellow Burma.
So, are you ready to be part of the ASEAN community? And what about you?